Sav, do you put sugar in your cornflakes?
I don't even eat cornflakes, Vivek.
Hey everyone, welcome to North Court. We are back for season 2. We've got Jevohn Shepherd, the one and only. You see him on TV now for the Raptors games. We are missing Megan McPeak. Happy birthday to Megan McPeak. She's got some well-deserved time off. But filling in for this episode, we have Savanna Hamilton, host of Raptors Today, host of Swish Inside the WNBA. How are you doing?
I'm good, Vivek. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Jevohn, you ready to get this started?
I'm ready. But we're forgetting, Sav is also celebrating a birthday. So shout out to you.
That's right. That's
Thanks.
right.
I actually connected. I connected with McPeak this morning. So I was like, we're like almost birthday twins. Close enough. This is why I subbed in for her for today.
Love it. Can't wait for the celebration. We are celebrating the start of the NBA season coming, and it's all about Canada on this program. So, Jevohn, right off the top, who is one Canadian player that excites you the most?
That's easy, V. SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. If you're looking at Oklahoma, Sam Presti gave him 172 million reasons to be confident, and here's the keys to this team. But I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at his progression over the years, and he's gotten better every year. He's been mentored by Chris Paul a year and a half ago. And then you factor in, he's coming off a season, although it was a small sample size, shot 50, 40, and 80% from the field, right? So not only has he gotten better, but he's doing it efficiently. And I think if he continues to progress and this team can pull out some surprise wins, because it is a team for the future, if they can pull out some wins, we're not only looking at my player to watch, but we're potentially looking at an all-star.
I like it. I like it. The only thing I worry about, of course, is seeing a repeat of last season where, maybe OKC go into, we don't want to win so much, so we don't want to play our best players so much. And, we get into a little bit of that. Sav, who you got?
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen, because I would love to see Shai have a great year this year as well. But, the person that I do have my eye on this season, the Canadian, is, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, because he made such a stride from his rookie season to his last season, even in his shooting percentage, and he doubled his points, to be quite honest. So I can only imagine what he's going to be doing this upcoming season. He's had a taste of international basketball, and he's a 6'6" shooting guard that's going to be contributing to, the New Orleans Pelicans, which is a team that's not talked about a whole lot these days other than Zion. So I would love to see his dynamic. It actually could very much complement his game working with a post like Zion. So we'll have to see how it plays out, but he's definitely somebody I have my eye on for sure.
I like it, keeping it in the family. And honestly, I have high hopes for Nickeil as well. I think when you look at that last chance qualifier that Canada had, and he had to come in with that role of being that scoring punch, that being that X factor, you look at New Orleans' situation this season, he's going to have the ball in his hands quite a bit, I think. You look at last season, those few games where he got the opportunity to start, he was getting buckets. And I think this season, with the guard rotation a bit different, I think he's going to have a much bigger role to play.
3 sugars on sugar cereal?
Cornflakes, there's no sugar on it.
It's disgusting.
Sav, do you put sugar in your cornflakes?
I don't even eat cornflakes, Vivek.
But what do you make of Scottie?
Scottie, he's a great player. I just came off of another show earlier today talking about how much impact he's already creating into this team in terms of culture-wise. We're used to a lot of stoic players in terms of OG Anunoby being very straight to the point. Kawhi Leonard also being a very stoic player in the past for us. And that kind of has shifted the culture now to where Scottie is, where he's coming in with all this energy and really, you're seeing it translate. I think that's the biggest aspect. You're seeing it translate onto the floor. And he's doing it in such a dynamic way. He was one of the assist leaders on this team in the preseason, as you saw him give such a great feed to a Preston Achiuwa. I don't think Achiuwa was even ready for that bounce pass straight to a great finish as a layup. But I see him as a dynamic player on this roster. that is already carving himself out some real minutes for this season. So very much looking forward to him developing this year.
And forget basketball for a second. You know, when has anybody been that excited to come to a Toronto team ever? You know, whether we're talking about the Maple Leafs or whether we're talking about Argonauts, whomever. And I think that speaks volumes to the player that he's going to be, because he's not concerned about being comfortable. He wasn't concerned about being, you know, in a new culture, new environment. Wasn't concerned about taxes, right? Every professional athlete coming to Canada is always worried about the taxes. And I just thought that spoke so much to who he is and how dedicated he's going to be to his craft, because he was just excited about coming here and living his dream, you know, playing at the highest level, playing in this environment. And I think that bodes well with an organization that's heavy on development. As far as the basketball components goes, you see him. He's come out here. He's had an impact already, and he's going to do a lot for this team. You know, he's not, obviously we know he's not the best shooter yet, but he has things that he can work on, and he's going to be excited about it. He's going to work towards it, and I just love what he's doing for this team already.
And Sav, you know, when you look at this team, obviously there's a lot of feel-good vibes. We talked about Scottie. We talked about the Canadian content. What are your expectations looking at this team?
Ooh, what are my expectations? Well, it's kind of, so when we talk about expectations, this is always a fickle subject, because I think a lot of people want to dive straight into playoff picture when we haven't even played our first regular season game yet. So I'm going to stay away from that, but I'm going to talk and say that they will be competitive in the East. I think that they're going to be a team that almost traditionally in Raptors history has been slept on, but not for the same reasons as in the past. I think the Raptors are on a lot of other teams' scouting report and roster, but like this particular roster, because they're so young, they're so raw, they haven't gotten that NBA polish yet. It's going to be a learning curve. However, I think when they do hit the second half of the season stride, they're going to turn heads. I think we have a great, well-rounded team in terms of versatility. It's going to be great. And also, not to mention, you know, Jevohn talked about the Raptors are young and they are hungry for it. As you see the hustle culture coming through and the defensive urgency on this team. Scottie Barnes loves defense. And the most important thing, they are at home. So I have high expectations, probably higher than maybe, not higher, optimism. It's optimistic. I'm very optimistic.
So V, I'm going to push the needle a bit, and I'm going to say this is a top 5 team in the East. Why? If they're able to get healthy and remain healthy throughout the season, I think they're going to be able to surprise some teams. Why? Because they play hard. We've seen, again, a small sample size in the preseason, but if you play hard and you're able to win the games that you're supposed to, that puts you on another level, right? And now you're playing back home. There's excitement there. You have home court advantage. You have your fans. There's something to play for. And again, Scottie Barnes, I think we harp on him. We talk about him a lot. But Sav, you said it. He brings this different level of enthusiasm to this team, right? And then again, we can talk about the length of this team. They're going to be a defensive team. So I think that's going to carry over on top of them playing hard. Nick Nurse has been great at trying different things, different systems, offensively and defensively, and that's going to bode well for this team.
Yeah, honestly, I think 5 or 6 seed is probably the ceiling of this team, if I'm being honest. If they can avoid the play-in tournament, I think that would be a huge accomplishment. I see them more as like a play-in team somewhere between 7 to 10. You never know how injuries play out, you know, how much time Pascal is going to miss, that type of thing. So I see them as a play-in team, if I had to guess right now, but if everything really clicks, I can see that 5 or 6 seed happening, which is exciting. And from an individual standpoint, no one excites me more than OG Anunoby. To see what he's done in preseason, I mean, this is kind of the glow up we've been waiting for on the offensive side of the ball. We know defensively he's going to be ready to take on whoever the best scorer is on the other team. Obviously, he's going to have to fight Scottie for that right now. But I think offensively, you know, to see how far he's come along, I'm excited to see how that translates over to the regular season. Let's go to our starting 5s. And now we have the 5 Canadians that we are most excited to see this season. We gave you a taste with 1 before, but now we're going to close it out with the 5. We've got some similar names on the list. You see there, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, RJ Barrett, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But we've got a couple of names that are different. So Sav, why don't you hit us with your name that's different first?
I'm so ready for this, guys. I'm so ready. So you mentioned Shai Gilgeous. I have him as my starting point guard. RJ Barrett, I have him as my shooting guard, which means my different name. You guys have Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and I told you that that's the guy that I have my eye on this season, but he's not making my starting five because Andrew Wiggins. Yes, him. I know. Politics aside, all that stuff aside, he's still a great player, and his stats speak for themselves. He's scoring more than double what Nickeil is currently scoring. He has NBA experience. He's been played with superstars. And on this roster that I have set out my starting five, he would be a great fit with Glue in terms of the way that he moves, the way he distributes. And we saw such a high quality performance from him this past summer in Canada basketball. So I'm going to give him some roses still, despite I don't believe what he believes in terms of the vaccine stuff, but I'm going to give him his roses on the court.
And, I think this is a big season for him just because it can further establish how people view him in terms of winning, right? And you look at Golden State and what they want to accomplish this season and getting back on track and potentially having Klay Thompson back by Christmas or the new year, they're going to have a high standard. And if he can help them compete at the highest level, I think that will change a lot of what people think about Andrew Wiggins and what he had to work with in Minnesota. Jevohn, what about you?
So the three we agree on, Shai, Nickeil, RJ, but my fourth position there, I'm going Dillon Brooks because everybody, I think he's the forgotten one, but everybody loves a dog, right? And we can throw out the stats, we can throw out all the metrics you want, but you can't measure heart, toughness, and will. And he possesses that. When he buckles down and he puts his forehead into the chest of his opponent, they're not going anywhere. And quite frankly, he's not the best laterally, but his will to defend, his will to win, and just that passion that he plays for, there's no metrics for that. You can't measure it at all. But you love it, and he's on every team. You need a guy like him on every team that wants to win. And then Kelly Olynyk, I think he's coming off a big year or half a year in Houston. The best in his career. And then now you're following it up in the season where you're in Detroit. It's a team that's rebuilding. You have some nice young pieces. Cade Cunningham is there, so that's going to be that core group. You want to be a part of that core group there. Troy Weaver has been the new GM last year. Was put in place last year, and he's done a good job of just identifying talent. He's somebody that identified Russell Westbrook, identified Carmelo Anthony. So he's seen something in Kelly. I think this is a position where Kelly can come in. He can play backup minutes at the center. He can play backup minutes at the four position, and finally just play free. He's 30 years old. He's been in the league a bit now. He understands how to navigate it, and of course he got paid. He got paid. And he has his Canadian guys around him to feel comfortable. So I think this is a great situation for him, and I expect a big year.
I was surprised you put Dillon Brooks on it. I was surprised you put Dillon Brooks on there.
He's a pit bull. That's my dog.
He is a pit. I see that. But I will say this, Vivek, just before going to you, another player that I had on my list that you guys somehow didn't have, Chris Boucher. He's a great power forward for the Raptors. He can hit the three. He's agile, and he's one of the block leaders on the team. So, I think he's going to have a great season with the Raptors again. He's already proved himself last year, so I don't even got to go too far into it. But I think this year he's going to take another stride. So looking forward to him. That's why I have him on my top five. I
don't want to cut her off, but these are Nick Nurse problems. We can't figure out which guys to cut, which guys to keep. So I'd hate to be Nurse on the national team because I already felt guilty leaving some guys off.
But this is the beauty of it, right? Like, we're in a position now where we actually have to leave guys off, right? Mm-hmm. And that's not something that we've had before. And now, when I look at the list, I'm saying, oh my God, I can't believe I'm leaving this person off. I mean, Jamal Murray, if we see him at some point this season, right? Obviously, everyone's going to be watching him. So those are the things that we get to do now that we haven't in a long time. And so that's what I take pride in. I'm going to take pride in being a Saga man and shout out O'Shea Brissett. And that's the guy I'm looking out for, for him to see him come on strong last season and now playing under Rick Carlisle. We know the reputation he has as a head coach in the NBA. I'm really excited to see what he can do with that. And obviously I threw Kem Birch in there as well, having an opportunity to play under Nick Nurse. He's talked about how much that means to him to play free. And I think that center rotation, we talked about that center rotation all of last year for the Raptors, having a center rotation of Kem Birch and Precious Achiuwa, that's a lot to look forward to. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of North Court's. Megan McPeak, you were missed, but Sav, you brought it home for sure.